Welcome, my name is Carmen. In this video we will see how to identify rare or typical examples of a class. When we submit a new sample to a classifier, we learn the class to which the sample is assigned. What if we would like to be sure of our classifier decision? Does the classifier have a strong evidence that the sample belongs to the class? In other words, is the sample a typical example of its class? With per class, we can combine classifiers very easily to obtain this information. Let's see how in this example of the fruit data. A standard Parsen classifier would give us the following decisions. Every point in the space is assigned to one of the classes, stone, apple or banana. However, we are only interested in samples that originate from high-density areas of our classes. These are typical examples. To identify them, we add the reject option to the classifier. By default, the rejection threshold is adjusted so that we do not lose any training example. What about this point? Isn't it obviously rejected? Let's have a look what is the decision. This is sample 252. We can see that it is accepted as stone. The areas far away from our training examples get assigned the fourth decision called reject in pink. If we want to highlight the areas with high class density, we can create a second classifier, setting the rejection threshold, for example, to 20%. Now we want to combine both classifiers. However, we see that both return the same decisions: apple, banana, stone, and reject. How do we distinguish them? In per class 4, we can arbitrarily relabel decisions of any classifier so that it makes sense for our task at hand. For example, we can add the prefix typical to these classifier decisions. In this way, this classifier will return, for example, typical apple instead of apple. Let's now combine both classifiers together in a cascade. We first apply the classifier that detects the samples with strong evidence. The examples rejected by this classifier, the typical reject, will be passed to the second classifier. These are the cascade decisions. We don't like this color? Let's change it. By hovering over the plot, we may change background color of any decision. By pressing the C key, a palette of possibilities appears. We can, for example, change the color of the decision for the typical banana class. By pressing the S key, we can save the pipeline with updated color settings back to MATLAB Workspace. The result is a composition of both classifiers, highlighting both low and high density areas of each class. We may be interested in identifying the apples and bananas only, and reject stones and everything else for which we do not have evidence. SDRelab will help us again. This time, we turn every decision that contains reject or stone into non-fruit, using regular expressions. These are the final decisions. In white are all non-fruit samples. Summarizing, we have learned how to highlight high-density areas for our classifier, and in this way identify if a sample is a typical or a more rare example of its class. Thank you for your attention.